Hello and welcome to Eery, where we today read scary stories. This time, the stories are 100% real and written by the victims themselves. Seven months ago, I contacted a few folks who have been sharing their horrific experience on r/LetsNotMeet. Recently, I received messages from two of them, giving me permission to share their story. We will begin with number 1, window taps. User _Hermione Jean Granger posted their story 8 months ago. I contacted her in late May 2021, saying the following. Hello. I read your Let's Not Meet story and I was shocked. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I would love to read this in a YouTube video. Do I have your permission? She replied late November. Yes. Sorry for being so late. I haven't opened Reddit in a long time. You have my permission. Please note that these stories were written early this year and might play out even earlier, and the texts have been slightly edited with some minor grammar fixes. So this was a few months ago, and quarantine was already in place, so I spent a lot of time at home, more than usual. There is a parking lot very close to my house. One day, I decided to go for a little jog. I ran from my house to the parking lot, and since I don't do a lot of cardio, I decided to take a little break. I noticed that a guy was looking towards my direction, but I didn't think anything of it. Until I started jogging again and he started walking at the same time. Since I was jogging, I eventually lost him. So I thought it was over, but was I wrong? It's now many hours later and I'm sleeping, when through the window I noticed car lights coming back and forth on my street. Now some may think it's normal, but I live in a very quiet neighborhood, so I wanted to see what was going on. As I thought, there was a car that was traveling back and forth. The car eventually stops right in front of my house, and the same guy comes out of the passenger seat, which means there is at least another person with him. Until that point, I was still half awake, but the sight of that same guy looking at my window, seeing me and smirking, woke me up real quick. I immediately closed the blinds, which are a tiny bit see-through by the way, and jumped into my bed, phone in hand. After a few minutes, I fell asleep, only to be woken up by light tapping on my window. Probably the same guy, since there were still car lights in the street, and he was crouched at my window, tapping from outside. The first thing that comes to my mind is to not move and try to pretend that I'm still asleep, not knowing if he could see inside my room or not. Then I remembered that my room is on the 2nd floor. How did he climb onto the little roof area outside my window? Absolutely no idea, but I know that getting down is not easy. I slowly pulled the covers over my head and called the police, whispering and telling them that the guy was still tapping. They told me to slowly get out of reach of the window, in case he breaks in or something, and that they would be there in about 5 minutes. I crawled out of my bed and into the bathroom, where I could see the street behind my house, and then I wait. After a couple of minutes, I heard the knocking stop, then silence, and then a big thump, then more silence, and the knocking at my door downstairs. I was still on the phone with the operator when I heard someone call out that it was the police and that the guy was gone. I told the operator that police had arrived, and she said, "Wait." There was silence, and she said that police had not yet arrived and to not open the door under any circumstances. Soon enough, she tells me police is now there, and that I can go open the door. I go check outside over my bedroom window out of paranoia, and there were in fact 3 police cars and about 5 or 6 officers outside my house. I go downstairs as one of them is knocking, and I open the door, thank the operator, and hang up. I tell them the whole thing, and they tell me that the guy was already gone when they arrived. In the next days, I saw officers on my street, but I never got news from the guys. The only thing they found was a rope and a small knife. No fingerprints, no guy, no car, nothing. The next story is called I Don't Know If I Would Ever Get Home. I wrote to the author around the same time as the previous one. Hi, I just read your Let's Not Meet story, and it was a very scary read. I'm terribly sorry you had to go through that, and I hope you feel better these days. I would like to read your story in a YouTube video. Would I have the honor to get your permission? She replied the day after. Hello there, I appreciate you asking. Yes, I do not mind, and I wish you many views. Let me know when you upload, and I'll go give it a like. I thought that was very sweet, bless her heart. Here comes the story. This happened a few years ago, and sometimes I still have nightmares when I didn't manage to get away. Let me start off by saying I live in a pretty big city. Lots of bars and lots of clubs. I have experience with partying and drugs, and I have been in blackout drunk situations. And this was not one of those. I no longer go out on my own. That night I had decided to go out with some friends, bar hopping. I mainly knew only one of the girls that I hung out with on the regular. The other two were more acquaintances or strangers. I was very outgoing and loved meeting new people, so that was nothing new for me. We had a few drinks at a bar and continued on to the next one, having fun, great times. One of the girls I didn't know well pulled out the party stuff sometime during our second bar visit. I decided to skip it, because I wasn't looking to get effed up that night. My friend said yes, and she and the third girl went to the bathroom. The second girl, let's call her Barb, kept saying I should go with the two others. I declined and I declined. She got a little aggressive and mean after the third time I declined. My friend came back just then and Barb acted like nothing had just happened. We had some new guys join our group to flirt. I'm in a relationship, but my friend and Barb were not. By then, the second girl had left. Barb and my friend were starting to get pretty messed up. I went to use the bathroom and text my boyfriend that I was coming home soon, and saw that my phone was dead. When I came back, the guys had gotten us shots. I was still pretty sober and declined the shot. Barb shoved the shot into my hand, and to avoid a scene, I took it. I started to tell my friend I was heading home, but one look at her face, and Barb and I saw they were out of it. I was starting to feel pretty woozy myself, so I grabbed my things and their things and started shoving them to go. I hailed a cab. My phone was dead, so no Uber. And I remember putting the girls in the back and telling the driver that we were dropping off my friends at their house, then going to my address. Then I blacked out. I remember dropping up my friend, then I blacked out. Then I was alone with that driver. I was in the front seat and he was holding my hand. I looked around, disoriented. Took this side of him holding my hand while driving, like my boyfriend would. I saw my wallet in the center cup holder. The mirror was off and was telling me that he was taking me to a romantic place. I told him no, please take me home. My boyfriend was waiting at home. He said something along the lines of, "Stop talking about him, I told you," which to me in hindsight indicates that I had told him already many times. He said he just wanted to pretend for a little and held my hand tighter. I didn't want to trigger a violent reaction, so I left my hand there and started to reach for my wallet with my other hand. He saw, let go of my hand and took my wallet from the cup holder to his other side where I couldn't reach. I was still woozy and blacked out again. When I came to my senses, we were parked near a very known, romantic and touristy location in my city. Normally this place is packed, not that night. It's pretty far from anything else and surrounded by woods. I start to cry and tell him to please take me home. I want to see my boyfriend. I won't tell anyone. Please. He looked at me and said, I will take you home if you pretend you're my girlfriend for a little while. I sat there in shock. I wished I had never gone out. I wished I could see my boyfriend for the 1000th time that night. I said okay. He smiled, put my wallet back in the cup holder. I took it slowly and put it under my leg. He took my hand and looked out the front window, out into the little lake he had brought me to. He started talking and I don't remember what he was saying. I was trying not to black out again. I waited for him to look at me and asked again, please take me home. He said, only if I could have a kiss. I said no. He looked mad for a fraction of a second and squeezed the hand he was still holding. He leaned in fast and kissed me anyways. I kept my lips sealed tight against him, ready to fight, ready to bite and scratch and not go down easy. He let go of my hand and backed away. He started the car and started our way back to civilization. I was crying as silently as possible, trying not to be heard so he would forget I was there. I waited till we were near enough people that I could bolt out of the car and find another way home. I think he saw me grabbing my wallet from under my leg and knew my intentions to jump out at the next red light. He snatched it again and said he would drive me. I just nodded, but by then I didn't care about the wallet, my phone or anything else. No matter what, I was going to get home. I didn't know what time it was by then. I do know there was almost no cars driving in my usually busy city. No buses, no people. He stopped at a red light. I unlocked the door and yanked it open and ran. I didn't look back, but I heard a car peel out of the intersection. He was running too. My phone still dead. No wallet, so no money. Really far from my house. I was still drowsy and crying. I had no idea of the time. I heard a car pull up near me and started running out of instinct. I heard a woman's voice yell out, "Are you okay?" I stopped and swirled around, and the most beautiful person I've ever seen in the world was talking. I stopped and swirled around, and the most beautiful person I've ever seen in the world was walking towards me. Slowly. Hands out in front of her, so as not to scare me. I started crying even harder. Even more incoherent than I'd ever been in my life. She hugged me so hard and asked for my boyfriend's number. She called him. He answered straight away. She started telling him what I was, that was okay, that she was taking me home. I cried the whole way back, trying to explain what happened, but still woozy, still freaking out. It was hard. So we drove in relative silence. When we got home, my boyfriend was waiting outside, losing his mind. My savior gave me a phone number so I could call her when I felt better, and drove off. It was 5 AM. I left the bar at 10 PM. That's all I can remember. A week later, my wallet showed up in my mailbox. So that was 2 Let's Not Meet stories. Thank you everyone for watching. Be safe out there, and happy holidays.